Okay, let's get started here. I think we're still missing a few people, but I don't really want to wait any longer. So first thing I want to point out to you is a quick review tool that I posted for you guys so that you can understand a little more easily what we did earlier in the week. What day was that? Tuesday, wasn't it? Okay, and this was actually Jennifer's idea, and it was a good idea. So what I've gone ahead and done is posted on Fanshawe Online like a 3 to 4 paragraph short little explanation of each of those definitions that we covered on Wednesday. And in doing that, I'm trying to give you an explanation for those terms that's easier to understand than most of the definitions you find online, because I know a lot of those were a bit they were a bit rough. So I don't really need to pull it right up on the screen here. I mean, without having to show you guys on the projector. If you don't mind just going into FOL and then going into this course and go into the news, you'll see that posted as the latest news item. So an understandable breakdown of how it all works. So this will cover that entire group of definitions we went through earlier in the week. In case you missed that class, you're definitely going to want to read through this and make sure that you understand these things, because these are terms that I'll continue to use now throughout the rest of the course. Well, are you connected to the server? You know, did you use the right URL? Is your stuff set up properly? In Dreamweaver, we're going to be able to connect our web folders to a server that I have set up for you guys. So you are going to need to understand how all this connects, okay? So without reading through it for you, this is, I spent some time on it. I tried to tweak it and make sure that it was understandable. So that's not going anywhere. It'll be posted in news. And then that refers to and connects to the information and content for week 3, which started right here. Those were each of the definitions from the 5-minute research project. Here, I should send you over to this. That included this and then a couple other extra ones, okay? So back in content here then, the rest of these links, before we jump into the stuff we're doing today, these got into the application of and how a lot of this stuff works in terms of different links I use to show you like how the extensions work, what they are, how easy it is to get a URL, all the way to the point where I finally got into how much this is going to cost. So a quick review. If someone comes into your office and tells you that they're going to charge you $3 grand for a website, let's not ask if this is a fair price or not, but what should they be doing if they're actually going to be charging this much money? They should be spending a lot of time creating legitimate what? Content, good. Because for someone to charge you that much money to just throw a bunch of files together and put them on a server and then tell you, oh yeah, well we're hosting it, doing all this work, and you guys know now, you're more educated in the sense that that does not cost that much money. What does it cost to purchase a URL or domain name? Ballpark. Yeah, it does depend. Good answer. Because a .info can be like $1. What if you just want a standard .com or .ca and there's nothing special about it?
Probably like 8 to 15 bucks.
8 to 15. Good range. $15, $8 to $15. What else?
I got a question.
A question. Ask me a question.
Like, you're a kite surfer, right? So how can you expect somebody to like come up with the content for kite surfing? Aren't you supposed to give them the content?
Excellent point.
You know what I mean? Like,
And I'll tell you an example. Excellent point. Yes, and that's why in an ideal world it'd be really cool for me to find someone to design my website for me that also understood like water sports and the sport of kiteboarding like my friend did with his Endless Surf site. I used to run the other wakeboard shop, right? So he got lucky there, and I still haven't charged him much. I mean, he's getting a pretty sweet deal. You guys know that band Stalefish that my drummer used to play in? I think he's playing with them again now. And this confused me because one of the guys in the band actually does do this kind of stuff. But usually in a band, there's always 1 or 2 guys that make the decisions. And these people approached him and said, we can do this for you, yada, yada, yada. We can make this website. Now, from what I could tell, they actually did probably design it from scratch. I don't think it came from a template. But even based on the design and the quality of the graphics they got, it wasn't hours and hours of work, right? They shouldn't have had to spend too much money, but they were in the neighborhood of thousands just to pay for the site to be created, right? And the content that was on the site, they were typing it up and sending it to them. So it's exactly what I'm telling you. Most of the time, that is how it's created. And if they're not creating content, if they're just literally copying and pasting, then what are they charging you $3,000 for? You got to find out, right? And that's why it's getting a little more competitive. Oh, we'll make you a one-page site for $500. Even that's still getting a little ridiculous. Because how much does it cost to host it, right? You get the files on somebody's server, they're there. This can vary a little bit, but from the link we looked at, which is right here, Canadian Perspective on Best Hosting Companies, we're talking about what per month, right? Ranging from, what are we talking about here? What kind of money? Anywhere from $395 to $850, I think it was, Canadian a month for unlimited space. Not 100 gigs, not 250 gigs, unlimited space that could hold like 70, 80 websites. And they're saying, oh yeah, we got to charge you $3,000. There's a lot involved here. Sure, there's a lot involved because you've learned how to make it really easy for yourself, and it's just too much money. So you guys can be a major asset to a small business or medium-sized, large business even if you go in there and say to them, well, what's going on with your web stuff? Well, what are you paying? Well, whoa, careful there. That's a lot of money. Are they managing a major database for you with a bunch of customers and you're doing a lot of online retail and you're not using like a simple, cheap PayPal store or something? There might be more going on there. But when my guys in Stalefish made this website, it was just a website with some information and it have the shows. And they're paying them monthly to update the site for the content. So not only did they offer this large sum of money up and paid them to create the site, they also gave them something like $200 or $300 a month to update the site, which is Derek sending them, here's our next show, and waiting for them to get it on like days and paying all that money. And eventually they did realize, they're like, oh yeah, I guess we could do this a little cheaper. It is crazy out there. So you need to be careful because if they're going to spend that much money, they should be getting a lot of quality content created. And even if you don't know the material that well, so you said kiteboarding, that's a good example. If they give me enough content to learn about it, I should be savvy enough as a web designer to know what types of keywords will generate good traffic and build those into the alternative keywords for the pictures, the descriptions for the links, okay, into the meta keywords, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think that was going on with them. So we learned a lot on Tuesday, well, whatever day you had class, because I am recording this. We learned a lot about how we can make this an easier process for us, how we can make this a less expensive process. Okay, up to the point where we did get to finally talking about CSS. Okay, so at this point, I'm just gonna pause that.